to a very special mini episode of the Cutting Room Movie Podcast. We are back in action. I am your host, Tom Detloff, and tonight I am joined by two of the Cutting Room players, Mr. Joe Christiana and Dave Pace is back with us. In a little while, we're going to be talking to the author of Cinema Detours, Mike White, will be with us. Dave, Joe, how the hell are you guys doing, man?
Howdy, Thomas.
It's been a cruel summer, my friend.
Yes, it has been a very cool summer. Man, it is hot as hell in New Jersey, Dave. I don't know about Canada, but it is peaking, man, like high 90s right now.
It's hard to tell in Canada because they go by Celsius, Tom, so you never know what temperature it actually is there.
You can't relate to me.
That's great. Joe, it's good to have you back, man. We haven't talked in a few weeks. We did an interview a couple weeks ago, which went rather well. How's your summer going, dude?
Very well, man. I'm, I got my head in the clouds still, so I'm a little bit fuzzy, but I'm kind of riding along here. Really curious to hear what's happening.
Right.
I hear we have a brouhaha.
Yeah,
today.
there is a brouhaha brewing, if you will. Dave is with us. I got to tell everyone right now, I mean, this is going to be pretty much Dave's floor tonight. Dave, as everyone knows, has worked for Fangoria for a couple years now, right, Dave? About 2 years?
Yeah, that's right. It's a couple years now.
But an incident over the past week happened, and, it has everything to do with us guys because, I mean, we're on air critiquing films. We take it very seriously. We do a hell of a lot of research. All of our material that we write is from the heart. It's from the soul. It's absolutely original. Dave, why don't you lay down the foundation to our listeners about the situation that happened over at Fangoria with Mr. Quentin Tarantino's very lovely girlfriend, Lianne Spiderbaby?
Well, it's pretty complicated, actually. But essentially what it all comes down to is ever since Lianne Spiderbaby, or McDougal as her real name is, ever since she sort of came onto the scene, people have been very skeptical about her. People have looked at her and said, I don't know. People have questioned her very...
Well, why was there skepticism immediately with her, Dave?
Honestly, I chalked it up to sexism. I chalked it up to just, this is a boys' club. And
You thought people were being assholes.
Absolutely. I thought it was just like, look, they just don't want this sort of pretty girl to come in and kind of show them up.
Who does? Who really does, right?
Right. So
did she get hired? Just staying with the origins here. Did she get hired before she was Tarantino's gal pal, or?
Oh yeah, definitely,
after?
definitely.
Before.
Like Lianne has had a writing career before Quentin Tarantino. And that was one of the things that I would always point out to people, like, well, hey, listen, she was out there writing and doing things before Tarantino. She did have something outside of him. So I always pointed to that as kind of, well, look,
so
she's legit.
She had some credibility and some credentials to her name when she got hired at Fangoria. And now, does everybody get hired at Fangoria, or some people kind of write on a piecemeal basis, freelance basis, or how does it work?
This is what we're starting to get to. And this is one of the peripheral issues that we're dealing with. But all the writers who work in the print magazine, who write for the print magazine, are paid, to my knowledge. And that's what I know. A lot of the writers who write for the web do not get paid.
The bloggers don't get paid.
Right.
Okay.
For the most part, anyway. I mean, there's people who write online for the site, but they're already staff writers for Fangoria. They're part of the staff. Right. So writing for the website is just sort of considered part of their responsibilities.
So the people who don't get paid just basically write for the prestige or the acknowledgement or the experience kind of thing.
And like, there's value in that for sure.
I'm sure. Yeah.
So I mean, it's not to say that it's complete exploitation going on here. I think it's a question. of you have people willing to be exploited and people willing to be okay with that. And are you?
Yeah. Well, Yeah, it's like an intern. You know, people do it.
Right.
It's almost like an intern sort of deal, right?
Yeah.
You work for free for experience and exposure and possible and potential and opportunity.
Absolutely.
So this girl comes in, gets hired by Fangoria as a print writer, so she's getting paid immediately.
Well, she started out writing online, and she did write
Okay.
a lot of online content. I'm told she wasn't paid for any of that, and I believe that. You know, it seems reasonable.
Okay.
But she was paid for some of her print content, both in Fangoria, in Famous Monsters of Filmland, now in Video Watchdog, and couple other publications, and probably now Fangoria again. One last time, she'll be in next month's issue. And so,
they're gonna print her again, even after all of this?
Well, we'll get there. Let's walk through the garden path here and kind of figure this out.
Wow. Yeah.
So Lianne kind of exploded onto the scene, and there was a lot of criticism of her that I thought was sexist bullshit. I just thought it was total sexist bullshit, and I didn't want any part of it. And then, you know, I met her right around the time that she was hooking up with Quentin Tarantino. So it's a bit of a weird time, but she was always really nice to me, like really friendly, really decent person to me. Treated me very well. You know, just treated me like a peer, right? Like we were all fighting the same fight, right? And I guess what happened over time, you know, she started getting into more outlets. She started, you know, being able to get access to more places. She started writing for FearNet. Started writing a book, which actually she has a publishing deal with St. Martin's Press, which I wrote about. I wrote a story about that when that happened.
Okay, so she's getting. She's just booming immediately.
Yeah.
So
she was just cast.
She's taken off, but it starts to really take off when she starts dating Tarantino.
Right.
More. Okay. My question is, where we're at right now with the story, Dave. Her work up until this point, is it impressive to you? I mean, is she doing things in her writing by critiquing these films that stands out? That you're saying, are you saying to yourself at all, boy, this chick has something?
You know, I don't want to be one of those people who's going to be like, she was bullshit. But at the same time, I can't say that anything she wrote ever sort of stuck with me. Okay. I think what stuck with me about her, she did these videos called Fright Bites with her brother, Steve, who's an amazing dude. I don't know. I really feel for Steve in all this. I don't know what he's doing, but she made videos with him.
Steve Spiderbaby?
Steve McDougal, who's a really, really awesome guy, and I feel for this guy pretty bad right now. But yeah, she made videos with him. You know, doing a lot of horror movie review stuff, doing a lot of, you know, that sort of thing. And those were what stuck with me. Like, those impressed me. Like, some of those were really, really excellent. And I enjoyed them. They were good. They were entertaining. But more than anything, I kind of saw her as just like, she's doing really well for herself. And this is it was kind of a signal to me that I could do well for myself in somewhat the same fashion. Not that I want to fuck Quentin Tarantino.
Even though you're not remotely as good looking as she is.
Not even remotely.
You felt confident that, wow, I mean, this girl could make some noise. There's, you know, I can make some noise.
I have similar...
So it was inspiring.
Absolutely. Like, I'm not embarrassed to say that, even though it's kind of embarrassing. And I think I have bigger tits.
Yeah, I probably do too, Dave.
That's hot. Both you guys are very hot.
But I mean, like, for real, when it all sort of came down to it, I really did. Like, I really did look up to her. I really felt that she was a friend to me. You know, we hung out. We did a lot of, you know, I can't say we did a lot of things together, but we did things together. We weren't best friends, but we, I don't know. Her success felt good to me. Like, I was like, man, I'm pleased that she's doing well for herself.
No, she was a friend. She was the one, if I'm not mistaken, who got you into the Django premiere
That's correct.
Screen.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. That's how I went to see Django Unchained with her and Quentin. and all that. I mean, I didn't sit with them or anything like that. Went to the after party, all that shit. It was great. I got to tell you, that was an amazing night. Something I'm probably never going to forget. And the thing I think I remember the most from that night was the fact that I got home like 3 a.m. Had to be up at work at 7 for this horrible temp job, where I'm like hammering plastic pails, like the lids on plastic pails. And I was sitting there doing that, and I'm like, just a few hours ago, I was at a private party at the Soho Club, with all these people, and now I'm hammering fucking lids on pails. It was a strange feeling. It continues to be a strange feeling. So anyway, and then going on my lunch break and checking my phone and seeing that, oh my God, there's the dress she just picked to wear to the Oscars, and how cool was that? Yeah. It was cool. It was exciting. I'm not gonna lie. It was. And
well, it sounds like you guys are like BFFs, like going.
We're
out,
not.
like,
we're not. No. Let's not. I'm not. I don't want to like.
I know.
I don't want to imply that anything like, because we weren't. Like, we were not.
She was a colleague and a friend.
But she was a colleague and a friend.
Like Joe, don't you see them like walking around the mall together? Like,
yeah.
Well, I just got the image of like all three of them sitting in a row watching the movie, and both of them have their hands on Tarantino's lap on either side. And he's deciding which hand to hold first.
Yeah, he's confused. Well, I would go with the person with the bigger tits.
Yeah, but I would go with the one who's the better writer, so I'd definitely be holding Dave's hand.
Aw, thanks, Joe.
Joe, you are out of your mind.
So to sort of make a long story short, on Saturday, I got up, I had a look at Twitter, and there it was. Lianne was accused of plagiarism. Stealing from a lot of people's work and passing it off as her own in many different articles. And this was posted by Mike White on his blog, Impossible Funky, and it was absolutely stunning. And Mike's messaging me right now, and I'd like to bring him in.
Yeah, let's bring Mike in, because we're probably at the perfect spot because he wrote the article. So let's bring Mike in.
Hello.
Hey, Mike.
Hi.
Mike, how the hell are you? Tom Detloff of the Cutting Room Movie Podcast here.
I'm doing great. How about yourself, sir?
I'm very well. You're with Dave Pace, obviously, and you're also with Joseph Christiana.
Hey, Mike, thanks for coming on, man.
I see a zombie, a chicken, and a logo. I'm all set.
Absolutely. Let me just tell our listeners, Mike, that they can check out your book, Cinema Detours, and your blog, Impossible Funky. And you also broke the story of the subject that we're actually covering tonight. The article is called "Who Does Your Girlfriend Think She's Fooling?" Mike, this Lianne Spiderbaby thing is pretty big news, not only in the horror film review world, but in the world of journalism, I would say. Mike, tell me about what happened. Tell me how you got this article circulating.
Well, I got a phone call last Friday about 10 o'clock at night, and a source who will remain anonymous was saying that he had this story that nobody was running with about this Lianne Spiderbaby, and that she had copied all these articles. And I was like, okay, well, that sounds kind of right up my alley, talking about plagiarism and everything. And then he started saying, oh, you should name the article, "Who Does Your Girlfriend Think She's Fooling?" And I was like, okay, I guess, because I'm kind of known for this movie, Who Do You Think You're Fooling?, about Tarantino being a ripoff artist.
A movie or an article that you wrote, right?
It was a movie. It was a short video.
Oh, it was a movie.
Yeah,
okay.
about 10 minutes long, and I cut together Reservoir Dogs and City on Fire and kind of did a side-by-side comparison of the two films.
Oh, very cool.
And I'm just like, okay, yeah, I guess, maybe we can stretch it and do that kind of thing. I had no idea that Lianne Spiderbaby was Tarantino's girlfriend until I started actually doing the research. I was like, oh, now I get it. That's actually pretty funny. Okay.
It's like 48 hours later, you're like cracking up.
No, luckily it was just like 20 minutes later after I started Googling this girl. I was like, oh, okay. Saw those pictures of her and Tarantino at the Oscars or whatever, and it was like, all right, okay, now it clicks. So yeah, I just started, verifying everything that I was sent and was like, holy cow, I cannot believe just the blatant copy and paste job that this girl was doing.
See, that's the thing. And those are the two words I keep seeing over and over again with this story is copy and paste. I mean, I was looking at like in all of the stuff that I read, and I read, a few articles about it, but it was just literally a copy and paste job. I mean, I'm talking about at times paragraphs.
Oh yeah, whole paragraphs. It's so funny to look at some of these things. They're color coded on the blog, and you look and you see this big block of red text, and then right in the middle it'll be one word that was added. Then, comma, and I was like, wow. I mean, it's not even a good like remix job. There's no obfuscation whatsoever. It's just here you go, big chunk. And
but Mike, you got this girl doing this. I mean. And what really worries me, and I'm sure this has crossed your mind too, is who else is fucking doing this?
Oh yeah.
Honestly, I mean, this seems like it seems to me that there's a possibility that this is something that might be out of control. Like seriously.
Yeah.
Like, I can't help but think that. I mean, do you agree with that? I mean I hate to be really negative. But in this world, I mean, where things just could come so easy to people, it has to be happening. It has to be.
Well, it seems like almost I won't say every week, but every couple months there seems to be a little bit of a, smaller or bigger scandal, depending on who's kind of giving, coverage to this or who the person is. But it's just like, oh my God, it seems like every time I'm turning on like NPR's On the Media, I'm hearing about, oh yeah, so-and-so lifted parts or made up quotes or it's just this whole thing where it's like lazy journalism or no kind of integrity when it comes to this stuff. And it's
right. I mean, listen, we're all reading stuff and we're all trying to reconfigure all the things we see and read and just try to put them, into our own thoughts. But this is just nasty shit, man. I got to be honest with you. And Pace, I mean, I know that this is really affected you big time, and you are super pissed off about this. I mean, seriously.
Okay, so Mike, first of all, really great to talk to you. Finally, I read your piece on Saturday, and I lost my shit. I totally lost my shit. I don't know if you know my background with Lianne, but I actually know Lianne, and it was really crazy to read that and to just think that I had spent considerable time and effort defending this girl to people and like being like, man, I hate all this sexist bullshit that's happening to her and how people are treating her like this dumb girl who doesn't know anything, and she's because she was really badly treated like that, and it was just like, man, those people were fucking right. But they weren't right. You know what I mean? It's
right.
It's like you're not right, but God damn it, you're right. It hurt.
Yeah.
Like it hurt me because I was like, I wanted to believe in this girl. Like I said to her actually, but I mean I've said it to other people as well, that like I made a decision, and I think everybody who knew her had to make a decision when she got together with Tarantino, and it was, do you take her at face value and just accept who she is and what she's like, just accept her? Or do you start going down the path of like being the people who whisper behind her back and talk about what a gold digging bitch she is and all these catty things that people were doing behind her back.
Right. Yeah.
And,
you start tearing her down because of what she's done or who she is. Yeah.
Yeah, it was ugly, man. Like, I gotta tell you, like, it was ugly at times. And I thought, you know what? I made a decision. I'm just gonna accept. I'm not going to judge. It's not up to me to decide whether, Tarantino loves her or she loves Tarantino. I don't know, and it's not my place. And I just felt like to do that to somebody who I've sat and looked in the eye, and like, it just seemed wrong. I just didn't want to get behind all that. And then to see this come out, it was just like, it was a punch in the gut. It was like a real, just like, holy shit, man. Like I wrote a blurb about her book getting a deal, and at St. Martin's, and now I'm just like, holy Christ, I can't even, like the people she stole from are people just like me, like they're struggling guys and women, and like people out there just trying to get their writing out. And here she is snorkeling in Cabo with Quentin.
Dave, have you talked to her since this has come out, and maybe had some insight about why she would do something like this?
Yeah, I talked to her Sunday. And actually,
what happened?
Well, she reached out to me on Sunday, and she was kind of in damage control mode. She reached out to a lot of people. I mean, Mike, I know she reached out to you as well. But she came to me on Twitter and just, I had mentioned that I was really disappointed in what happened, and I was considering writing a column at the time. And she messaged me on Twitter and was just like really please begged me not to write anything about her. That she was in mental distress and things were really bad for her.
But it didn't get involved to the point where she explained or justified.
No. It was just like, please don't do this. And then when I was like, listen, like, I can't have your back on this. Like, I can't.
No, certainly
do
not.
it. And then she said that she thought I was her friend, and that she was really sickened that I would capitalize on her status.
Oh.
Well, that's her train of thought. Is that everybody? Well, that's her train. But that seems to be like the train of thought of somebody who wants something, rewards or gratification for nothing. Is that everybody's capitalizing on something?
Now, Mike,
because she's capitalizing on something.
She contacted you after your article came out.
Yeah, she contacted me 3 times on Saturday. Just. 2 pretty close together. She wrote to me, and it's the stuff that was quoted in the Gawker piece where it was like, hey, I've had all these death threats and yada yada yada, and it was a really weird email because it really seemed to me that she must be sending it out to more than just one person, because there was actual copy and paste stuff in the email, like the 2 paragraphs were
like she's
repeated.
Copying and pasting, like she's so gung-ho on copy and pasting, she's now doing it just with her own.
She's the copy and paste champion of the journalism
to me. But yeah, she wrote and was like, please take down this article and da-da-da-da-da. I'm going to write an apology on my blog. And I was like, listen, I'll post a link to your blog, but I think it would be really bad to take this down, because right now it's kind of contained in one area, or I didn't know about some of the forums that were out there, and I knew Marianne Johansson's piece, but I was like, it's relatively contained. Like, there's just a couple places right now where people can read about this, and if they read your apology right afterwards, then hey, it's all set. One foul swoop here. And then she wrote back, she's like, no, please, can you find it in your heart to take it down? And I'm going to give my Rondo back and all this. And I'm like, I didn't ask you to give your Rondo back, but whatever. And it's like, I really think that in the interest of journalistic integrity, I need to leave this up here, and this story needs to be out.
And Mike, that's a hard thing to do. I mean, because, it's like, it can seem attacking, but it's honest and it's true, and people need to know about it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, so it's as a human being, Mike, I mean, even though it's it's the right thing to do, there still has the human element has to be there with you. I mean, like, are you were you at all like, oh man, should I take it down, or you're just like, fuck this, it's staying up there?
For a hot second, but at the same time, it's just like when I thought like this is journalism that was on my blog, and I'm just like, no, this isn't right. And then plus I also thought like, what about all the frickin' emails I'm going to have to answer if I took this post down? I would just get so tired of answering those emails and stuff. So it's just like, no, I'm not going to do that. And so I threw journalistic integrity out there, and knowing that she had none, I was like, okay.
Well, Mike, is it true that she offered a signed copy by Quentin Tarantino of Reservoir Dogs for you to take it down?
No, but somebody said you should have said, like, okay, make Quentin come out and finally admit that he stole from City on Fire.
then you'll take it down.
Right.
That's funny. Joe, what do you got for Mike?
Is she plagiarizing everything that she's writing, or was it just? I know that you kind of talked about a few articles, but is it everything, or is it some, or what? How much? How extensive is it?
There are folks that are out there keeping track, which I find amazing. I'm so glad that there are folks that are really digging deep.
They have like a commission.
Yeah. And so far, I think they've found 20 separate instances, or 20 separate sources, I should say, all the way from Amazon reviews and IMDb reviews to articles to books, all this kind of stuff. And it wasn't just what she was writing for one particular thing. Like at first it seemed to be the FearNet stuff was the majority, but then people were finding, oh no, what she wrote for Famous Monsters of Filmland, what she wrote for Video Watchdog, what she wrote for oh gosh, what was the other one? Oh, what she was doing for Fright Bites, her YouTube show. As soon as she would go into her movie reviews, people would sit there and on the internet and start Googling in what she was saying and find the reviews that she had stolen these her segments from. It was just like, oh my god. So I don't know what of hers is hers, but it seems like this was pretty systemic.
What's confounding to me and what I find most fascinating is why somebody would do something like that. Like what's at the root of something like that? Like I just don't get it. Like I don't know why you would do that. Like who, for what, to achieve what goal?
Well, I want to go back to something that David was saying as far as like the whole idea of her saying that he was going to capitalize upon her pain or whatever this was, and it's like, Dave was kind of hurt and confused. I don't mean to put words in your mouth here, but
no, it's very accurate.
You're having a hard time with this, and what writers do is writers write, whether they write to get information across or to work out their own feelings, whatever it is, writers write, and that's what Dave would wanted to do. And I think that kind of says to Lianne, says a little bit about Lianne, like, she didn't even kind of understand that. And I don't know why she wouldn't write some of these things that she was doing. It was just so strange to me to see the patterns in some of these articles where it was just like this kind of blender. I mean, it wasn't even a blender approach. It was like if you just hit the blender once and you just mixed it up a little bit, but it wasn't even that good. So big chunks of stuff.
I mean, it just speaks of a sense of entitlement that you're entitled to take whatever
that's
you
a
want,
word.
And you take it.
That's exactly.
That's a word that's just like any young people, and anyone under 40. It just seems like there's a whole freaking population of people who just they feel entitled to everything.
Yeah, and I started, Tom, it was funny because this text that you planned this show around, it had the word celebrity and plagiarism in it. And I don't know what you were thinking about tying this into celebrity, but what's been rolling around in my head the past day are three words, which is narcissism, voyeurism, and entitlement, and they all seem very germane to this conversation here and what's happening with media in general,
Joe,
social media, celebrity, and they just all seem to be, combining and dovetailing into one another,
I totally understand entitlement and narcissism. Explain to me about your, why voyeurism?
Well, voyeurism is very tied into celebrity, right? You get a sort of sexual charge from watching people.
From watching them, yeah. Right.
And so, and in this age of social media, you kind of think that you could claim your own right to celebrity. So you think that you should. So this voyeurism and narcissism starts to play like a yin and yang kind of thing, And as soon as you have the camera and media is a powerful mirror, it's very psychologically charged, So when you're watching celebrity and you're getting this gratification from, your voyeuristic activities, and that just flows so seamlessly or so fluidly into your narcissistic urges, so we have basically a social media creates a culture of narcissism / voyeurism, and that what that means is that when you're essentially a narcissist is that you feel like you just need attention and love from people, but without giving anything back, So you get the sense that, through voyeurism and narcissism, this process that's going on, you think that you deserve this love and attention from everybody without giving anything back, and you're entitled to take whatever it is that you need to take, and you should be getting everything in return. I don't know if that makes sense.
And it kind of does, and and I'm thinking to myself here, I'm like, to put the word to have the words journalism and celebrity like walking right next to each other. I mean, a journalism should be wanting to give everything back, everything to the audience, everything to the people. And if they're celebrity, they have to. This has to get lost. This concept has to get lost because it becomes more about them than it is about, one, writing, two, reporting facts, and three, just being a unique person. It all gets lost. And I think
there's a beautiful thing in journalism, man. Sure, everybody's doing something for some sort of reward in some sense, and so writing is its own, and what these people are missing is that writing is its own reward,
But that's what I'm saying. Like a guy like Edward R. Murrow, his reward was giving people honesty and giving them fact and giving them things to think about. And now you fast forward 55 years later or whatever, and you have this fucking girl,
and the reward is celebrity. So it doesn't. So it's not about giving. There's no exchange. There's just it's just a selfish taking. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Dave, you want to jump in?
Well, I got to tell you, an interesting thing about all this is that, and maybe you can help me confirm this, Mike, but I had heard that the email went around like Wednesday night with all the information, and it went to the editors of several publications.
That's what I heard as well. And I was having flashbacks to the whole original Tarantino thing where it was like one magazine in England had written about Reservoir Dogs being similar to City on Fire, but nobody wanted to touch that story.
This was in 92, Mike?
Yeah. And so it was like a long damn time before anybody wanted to write about that at all. I think in the U.S. it might have been Film Threat that was the first, magazine to write about it. But, again, it was like, I was expecting Entertainment Weekly or whoever to just, pick it up before Entertainment Weekly kind of lost its nuts. But just like, hey, here's this story. Everybody should probably know this kind of thing. And I don't know if it was the Weinsteins or what it was, but man, there was no press on that whatsoever. And I was just afraid that it was going to be the same thing. Like, I heard Wednesday night this email went out. So it was like, okay, Thursday, Friday, Friday night I get the call. That's the first time I heard about it. But also, I was told that this came out Wednesday, and I was like, holy cow, I do not want this to be another story that just kind of dies because nobody's got the nuts to go for it. So I have no reputation to damage, so I might as well go ahead and do it.
Mike, are you blown away that Fangoria is still going to run a piece by her next month?
I I wasn't really aware that they were going to run a piece by her.
Dave, right? I mean,
her and I are actually in the next issue together, and it's both our last issue.
Oh, all right. I knew for sure that the Video Watchdog piece was coming out, but that had already gone to press. But I wasn't aware about the Fango piece.
And Fango is the same deal. It went to press already.
Okay, that makes sense then.
You know, just speaking to Mike about what you were just saying there, you know, it's difficult to, even if the opinion is valid and true, it's difficult to say something that is against the public consensus or what the public, you know, what the consensus is about a certain artist like Tarantino. So when everybody's, you know, saying how brilliant the guy is, it's very difficult, believe me, I know, to come and, you know, give an opposing opinion, even if you're just doing it for in a devil's advocate sense. I mean, just the status quo is really just likes to maintain itself and to not rock the boat. So even if you have something interesting, unless you have the ability to, and a publication that believes in you or, you know, has the balls to do it, media is not there to shake things up. They're there to suck off of, you know, public status quo, basically, you know.
Yeah, the one thing that I really learned a lot from that experience back in the early 90s was just how lazy journalists tend to be. You know, like this is before newspapers became even more, you know, the conglomerates that they are. Like, I'm not surprised when I read basically the exact same story from newspaper to newspaper, just because I know that things are being syndicated, you know, even on these online sites that things are being syndicated. But back in the early 90s, when there were actual paid journalists working at different newspapers, just how lazy people were as far as like, oh, well, this other article said this, so I'm just going to reprint that, rather than actual doing like fact checking and stuff. So I would see weird stuff just printed about me time and time again. And it's like, okay, where did this come from? Oh, it came from here, and nobody actually did the research to make sure that it was true or not.
Yeah, and that's you know, disheartening on the level when we're talking about movies and celebrities. Think about what's going on in politics and war and
Jesus Christ.
Right? Yeah. I mean, we're, you know, to put it in perspective, I mean, we're talking about, you know,
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and Jesus Christ, right? So imagine imagine media outlets just copying and pasting, you know, the press releases from, you know, let's say a George W. Bush administration press release about whether or not we should go into war or not, you know. I mean, and it becomes very scary, and that's when that's why journalists, like, you know, good journalists are few and far between, but they are so important.
Yeah, how many thousands of lives have been lost over just the last decade based on bad information and nobody having the guts to actually do their own investigation or ask the questions of the status quo.
Yes.
That whole WMD thing was just a major, I mean, I'm not comparing myself to that, of course, but it's just like this whole thing of, why aren't you questioning things? Why aren't you looking past what that status quo is? Well, I mean, the scales were really kind of taken away from my eyes when the first time I actually started to get like press kits from the various outlets around here in Detroit. And I would look at the press kits for different films, and then I would look at the reviews that I was seeing and just go, holy shit, you guys are just copying what's in the press kit and just writing your article or review based on what's in the press kit. And it was like, the more I started to see these things, the more I was like, I don't even know who's actually going to the movies anymore. It just seems like they're cribbing from these things, maybe doing a rewrite. And that's, you know, if you start comparing a lot of different reviews and stuff, it's just like, wow, these things really seem to be taken from stuff. And then you get into this whole idea too of like the people that are just there to review movies, to give those sound bites that they put on the posters or the video boxes and stuff. And it's just like, what kind of journalism is that? You know, it's not journalism. That's just, you know, who's paying off who kind of stuff.
That's amazing. Mike, you know what I wanted to ask you? Since your article came out, I mean, what's the consensus, with the general public on what she did? I mean, are people outraged generally? I mean, does anyone come to her defense? What's going on there?
It's really weird. There are a lot of folks that are just like, "Oh, keep your chin up, Lianne," and then luckily nobody has said like she didn't take anything. I mean, since she actually admitted on her Twitter before she deleted her Twitter account and everything that she did do this, we've got screen grabs of that kind of stuff, and it's before everything started disappearing from the web and all this kind of thing. But yeah, it's luckily nobody's doing that. But then it's just been a lot of, a lot of people are just like hurt, understandably so. A lot of people invested in her and her time, and just wanted to see a woman succeed so greatly in this field that's usually dominated by men. So I think there's some concerns about misogyny and sexism, and it's been weird. Some of the comments that have been on my blog have been really inappropriate, and I've been trying to keep those to a minimum. Just people saying like, "Oh, she's such a whore and a slut," and da 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 da, and it's like that's really inappropriate. So,
well, people come out of the woodwork when they smell something to hate. They just want to come out and just freaking hate something blindly.
Exactly.
Right. Even if there's nothing there to hate. Right, even, Joe. Like, I mean, that's the worst of it.
Well, misery just it loves itself, I guess.
Absolutely, absolutely. I want to get some. I'm sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
I was going to say, so after a little while, like once the story went live on Gawker, I turned off the ability to do anonymous comments on the website because it was just like I knew that the loonies would be coming out. Mm-hmm. So I turned that off, and so now it seems to be a little bit more of a productive...
Loonies.
Yeah. Now a little bit more productive, though there have been some great attacks on me now, which is wonderful. So I always enjoy... I enjoy good hate mail and that kind of stuff. So if you guys want to read some funny things, I would say definitely check it out.
I mean, people should just love you for still living in Detroit, Mike.
Keeping it real.
Like, I mean, seriously.
That's some moral fortitude for you.
Absolutely.
Is OCP buying you now? Is that going to happen? Like, because Detroit's bankrupt now. So is OCP buying? Is this how it happens?
OCP. Yeah, and when is Delta City going under construction?
The construction of Delta City has been, it's been halted a little bit because of all the crime in old Detroit. So we need to get maybe some new police force in here would definitely help out.
Well, I hear that Dick Jones has really been a go-getter on.
Yeah,
good old Dick
this
Jones
program, the Ed 209 program. I think that's really got some legs to it.
I love it. Joe's like, I have no fucking idea what you idiots are talking about.
I know you guys have some deep references going on there. I'll just
listen, Mike. Don't let Joe fool you. He's a closet Paul Verhoeven fan.
Hey,
believe you me. I mean,
there we go,
Joe actually loves Showgirls.
Oh, nice.
Nice. He's a huge fan.
He's still waiting for some girl to give him a lap dance like Nomi did.
That's classic. I want to get some final thoughts, guys, on all this before we wrap it up. I'm going to start.
Well, I think Dave has to finish the story, no? Like, I think that Dave's story's not done, right?
Well, Dave, go ahead. Yeah, Dave, you still want we do got to talk about him leaving Fangoria.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Hear what happened after the scandal.
Oh, okay. So, I guess what started to happen. So Tim Lucas from Video Watchdog initially made some comments that were really just awful and totally ass-headed. And like there's another dimension to this that I don't think we've touched, and it's the people who want her to be where she is because she's their ticket to Tarantino.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like kind of an even uglier kind of subset of people, right? And uglier motives, and it's I don't know, it's all kind of ugly. But I mean, in any case, Tim Lucas came out, basically said, she's a pretty girl, people are going to hate on her, I don't believe everything I read on the internet. And maybe she stole a thing or two, and maybe she accidentally copied and pasted this or that.
It's only 2 paragraphs. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. And he was just kind of like, everybody back up. And I was really pissed off at how he took the legitimate like sexism and misogyny concerns, which I think are deeply legitimate and need to be talked about, and sort of merged them with like, well, yeah, but you see that they're all just haters. And it just didn't sit well with me, and so I just didn't let it sit well with me. I got kind of pissed off about it, and then when Fangoria, Chris Alexander from Fangoria, made the announcement about the whole issue and just said, "Listen, we're not gonna publish her work anymore." He didn't name her in the announcement though, which was kind of weird. But he just said, "Hey, we're done. We're not gonna work with her anymore." And there was a pretty lively discussion going on his Facebook on that.
Well, they didn't. What do you mean they didn't name her? They just were vague about. He just
basically said this person that we all kind of know that we're talking about. God. Like,
yeah, we do not employ plagiarists.
Yeah, exactly. So it was, so there's a lively discussion kind of happening on Chris's Facebook. And some people were saying that Chris was defending her, and I was like, no, this is what somebody defending her looks like. And I linked to Tim Lucas's comments. And lo and behold, there came Tim Lucas, showed up to defend himself. And he and I had a lively row. It was pretty disgusting. Yeah, I didn't like it. I didn't like it, and I just wasn't prepared to, like, I had, like, so many people, like, you know who this guy is? Don't do, like, back off, man. Just let it go. But I was just like, no, I'm sorry. You're not going to sit here and diminish what is the worst thing you can do in all this. Because, I mean, there's all this talk of, oh, let's give her a second chance. And I didn't feel like the people she stole from got a first chance.
Right.
So why are we extending her anything? You know?
Yeah. One of the first emails I got on Saturday.
Yeah, think about that. Yeah. Think about that poor soul that wrote that Psycho 3 review.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. Can you imagine that?
What happened? Mike, am I wrong?
Yeah.
Is that the kind of stuff she's stealing?
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, popcorn. Yeah. It's just, yeah.
Oh my God.
I mean,
it's so, and when you take a step back from it, as serious as it is, and like all these moral issues ethical issues that we're talking about, you take a step back out from it, it's so friggin' absurd that we're talking about a Psycho 3 review.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy.
I mean, one of the first emails that I got on Saturday morning was from a friend of mine who said, "Hey, thank you so much for printing this." And I had actually been turned out at Video Watchdog, so basically Lianne could get this person's job. And it was like, oh, okay, so yeah, we're forgetting, all the people whose stuff that she took, and then all the people whose jobs she may have taken. It's like, wow.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. Like when she and I talked on Sunday, and she accused me of wanting to capitalize on her status or whatever. I told her that first of all, I've never tried to capitalize on her status. I've never asked her for favors. I've never asked her for shit. You know what I mean? Like, never. I made a rule with myself when it came to her that it was just never ask her for anything. You don't want to be that guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I told her, I'm like, Lianne, you know damn well I've never, that's never happened. And she wrote me back. She's like, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry for everything. And then I never heard from her. But I kept writing her to tell her, listen, like, I have to tell you something. I have to tell you how I feel about this. And how I feel about this is that you call me a friend, but the people you took from are people just like me. And I can't accept that. And you need to consider that if you considered me a friend, you stole from people in my exact situation for no other reason than to enrich yourself. And that's disgusting in a word, but it's extremely hurtful. When you're doing this for nothing and she's picking her Oscar dress.
Yeah, well, and that's what that's what it's about, Dave. Is going to the Oscars, not writing something interesting about Psycho 3.
Right.
Unfortunately, I mean, and I'm making light of it, but it is. I do take it as seriously as you do. I understand, but that's what's at the heart of this, and all those people, Mike, you were just talking about, who don't want to, rock the mainstream boat. There is the same thing, man. They want to be picking their Oscar dresses too, and they don't give a shit about the work they're doing. They want to friggin' go to the Oscars, and that's why that's why they're gonna give Lianne Spiderbaby a second chance, because one day they'll be at a friggin' party at some producer's house, and hey, I stood behind you during that whole thing. Could you introduce me to QT?
Man, so you're
and that's what's going on. Yeah. I mean, that's what's going on.
Or, legitimately, I'm sure a lot of folks that were included on those initial emails probably wanted to say stuff, but were in positions where they knew that they would get just, big old black mark next to their name if they came out against one of their own or against somebody who knew somebody. So luckily, being kind of a pariah myself, it's just like it was very easy for me to come out. So it was, I have no reputation to damage, whereas I can definitely see, if there's somebody that's, working alongside of her or knows her or whatever it is, it's just like I can definitely see where somebody wouldn't come out. So there should be embarrassment when it comes to the part of people that are publishing her or that have looked at this stuff and just given her a pass this whole time. So I can see where they would not want to come out and be like, oh shit, I screwed up. But so I think that's why Lucas came out so strongly initially, was just like, oh yeah, doesn't want to admit that. And then also the whole QT factor as well, because he was on that round table for the Jackie Brown DVD and stuff, and I'm sure it's just like he was probably starstruck. And unfortunately, a lot of folks that get into this industry of movie journalism, they have a hard time separating that fanboy from actual journalism.
And to me, like, this is what I have a problem with. This is what I have struggled with in my short time doing this, is like I really believe in certain things. I have certain beliefs about integrity.
How dare you?
Yeah, it's fucked up, man. So, like, things that you see start to concern you, and you start to realize that, like, one of the reasons I wrote a piece, which is really difficult to find now, I'm going to repost it, but it's about the death of basically good genre journalism in a way. And so many people are concerned about preserving access to studios and shit like that, because they'll just cut you off, like you just won't get the set visits, and you won't get the freebies and the little things in the mail, and you know what I mean? Like they just take you off the goddamn mailing list, because everybody won't. You know what I mean? There's no solidarity. All the outlets won't get together and say, hey, if you cut one of us off, none of us will fucking cover you.
Exactly. It's so cutthroat.
Right? And that's bullshit, man. Like that's bullshit. Right. And there should be that solidarity. Like, all the outlets should be like, listen, you fucking cut, let's say, for example, you cut Rue Morgoth. Hey, you know what? Fangoria, all these other guys, Horror Hound, we're not going to cover you. You know what I mean? It's all of us or none of us. And I just think we're missing that attitude. I think we're missing that attitude that we're doing journalism. I think that there's a lot of PR going on, but there's not a lot of journalism going on.
Right.
And I think that a lot of people in positions of power in this world have ideas of ethics and transparency that are probably only as good as the person who taught them the job.
Or taught them how to live.
Yeah.
How to be a man. I mean, that's...
Like, and so that kind of shit has always, like, been at the back of my mind as I've been going through this world. And I've tried to keep myself very clean, I cover very small movies. The only big movie I've ever covered, I felt really not good about.
Did you feel a little dirty afterwards?
Yeah, well, no, it was that because there was nothing that happened. Like, nobody got me hookers and blow. Nobody was like, write a good review. But you just have to know that if they're willing to pay to fly you out there and put you up in a hotel and all this stuff, they're doing that for a reason. It's a lot harder to talk shit when you've looked a director in the eye.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lot harder to talk shit when you've watched the cast and crew work their asses off and you know what I mean? So they're conscious of that. They know that. And so I was very like, I don't know, I'm of two minds. Like, it was like, yeah, I'll do this set visit and I'll write a set report and I'll do interviews or whatever else, but I don't want to write the review. I just don't want to have anything to do with that. And I realized, you know, after given time, that it was like, no, I was much more comfortable. I felt a lot better. I felt like there were less sort of threats to compromising myself when I'm covering just these very small indie pictures that, you know, there's no threat to anything, to any of my integrity. You know what I mean? And it was, I just found myself realizing that that's what I wanted to do and not anything else.
It's kind of a double-edged sword here, because, you know, entertainment journalism is, you know, you could look at it in two ways. That it's kind of an industry built around, or that the producers and the filmmakers think that it's an industry of PR, like you were saying. But by the same token, and they don't want to be, you know, and they think that is bad. If you're talking bad about a genre film, then you're doing the whole community a disservice, you know. So why are you doing this in the first place? But then the flip side of that is that if you actually have thoughtful critiques and constructive critiques, then in the long run, though, it might. Well, yes, and that's what and it becomes like a dialogue between intelligent people who love the genre and who expect great things from it, you know. So if entertainment journalism is just serving the studios, then what all that's doing is continuing this trend of mediocrity, which is just bringing everything down to, you know, a center and a lowest common denominator, instead of having intelligent film criticism and film journalism, pushing the industry to, you know, advance its ideas and push the boundaries of what it is, you know. So I mean, you're always going to have that sort of conflict there inherent in the dynamic between the journalists and the filmmakers, you know.
Listen to us wild-eyed dreamers.
I know.
Isn't it just, I got a tear, man.
We're going to hang, you know, we'll all hang up here and shit won't change. It'll just keep getting worse.
Yeah, but you know what, though? We could be very proud of what we do on the cutting room.
Absolutely.
And Mike, I know you're not incredibly familiar with what we do here, but we review films, and before every film we review and discuss, we have kind of a roundtable discussion, and each person takes turns writing their own introduction to the piece. And there's something, you know, there's not many things that you could be proud of in this world, but what happens at the beginning of our film reviews, Tom, is something to be incredibly proud that we put that effort and that work. You know, I don't even look at any film, like, I make it a point not to look at anybody else's film reviews. I mean, what the hell is wrong with me before I'm thinking about a film, you know, that we're talking about. And the quality of the film reviews that we put out, you know, and I don't want to sprain my arm patting ourselves on the back here, but I mean, goddamn, it's something to be friggin' proud of here, man.
Yeah, we do a great job. Mike, you got to come back sometime in the fall and join our panel, man, and review a couple movies with us.
All right, works for me, and I'll have to work on you guys getting on the Projection Booth podcast.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I mean, any one of us would be more than happy to go over there, except maybe Billy. But I'm only kidding. I kid Billy. I love Billy.
So, Dave, can you just lead us out?
Mike, before you go, Dave, tell us about the your final days with Fangoria.
It sounds like the final days in Hitler's bunker or something like that. What the hell?
The last 90 days.
It's not really all that as dramatic as all that. But I think what happened was I didn't get a lot of sleep over the weekend. This really, honest to God, it really kept me up. It really kept me thinking about what I was doing. And I realized that I had things that I really wanted to criticize about how this business works and how the sausage gets made. And I felt if I was still involved in it, if I was still part of it, and I was still sort of accepting terms that I was about to say were unfair to people, I was being unfair. And I wouldn't have credibility doing so. So I made a decision. I resigned from my column, and I informed Chris I wouldn't be submitting any more work to Fangoria. It was certainly no hard feelings towards him. Chris gave me my start. I have incredible amount of respect for him and the hard work that he does, and a very small skeleton crew of people do at Fangoria. They do an amazing job pulling that magazine together, because they are criminally understaffed and really don't get the resources that they need to probably do things the way they should. And so, I mean, it was certainly no hard feelings on my part. I just knew that I was about to say some things that were probably going to make me a liability anyway. But I had to say them, I couldn't not say them. I couldn't not be who I am. And I don't know. It's hard, because I know at one point in Chris's childhood, I mean, he dreamed about being, the guy who ran Fangoria and being a horror movie guy, and that's like amazing that he's out there doing it, and it's awesome. And I certainly don't want to diminish him or what he's doing. But when I was a kid, honest to God, I dreamed about being a writer since I was very, very young, 7, 8 years old. I rewrote
first taste of scotch.
That's right. I had developed a taste for scotch just because I wanted to be a damn writer, and I thought you needed to do that shit. I smoked, and
Dave's like, when I picked up a copy of Hell's Angels when I was 7, I knew that this is what I wanted to do.
No, I would like rewrite like books that I was reading. I would like use their characters and rewrite scenes from books and stuff. Like I was very, very young. And I knew that I wanted to do something good with the only thing that I really knew how to do. And so I dreamed of breaking stories and writing things that were important. And so I don't know. I guess if it's my dream or his, I don't want to. Again, I don't want to diminish. I don't want to take away from anything that those people are doing, because I think they're fantastic. I think that the people in charge, the people who are running the show, guys like Tom DeFeo, who publishes the magazine, are just not doing right by anyone, and it's a damn shame. And it's a damn shame that it's really difficult to talk about it, and it's really difficult to get out there and talk about it. And I think another major symptom of why we sort of have these people like Lianne is because we don't respect how words are valued. We just don't put any value in it. Words are everywhere. You can go on the internet, see free words.
Or more importantly, thoughts. I mean,
exactly. We just put no value on it, and we just say, well, you know what? Who gives a shit? And so when we have outlets who don't even try to compensate people when they really can, and there's really ways that they can do it, and they still don't, and they expect sort of people to work for free because they love doing it. And I got to tell you, like, the thrill of getting published is a reward in itself. But manipulating that in people is pretty nasty if you think about it. You know what I mean? Like denying people the other rewards of that, it just seems wrong to me. It just doesn't seem like the right thing to do. And I know about a year ago, I remember reading a really fascinating discussion, and it was major newspaper editors from all over the United States. And they were all talking about the problems that they were having with writers writing for free, writers not getting paid, you know, and how blogs like the Huffington Post, for example, pays nobody, right? Like not a single writer on the Huffington Post gets a dime.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's fucking amazing. No, you want to hear an amazing story?
That's amazing because that's the big one. You know, I mean, that's
So here's a story about the Huffington Post, and this is the story I go back to. And I told Chris Alexander this story in an email when I was trying to explain to him what I was doing. And there was a writer who was writing for the Huffington Post. She wrote for years for free, and one of her pieces was nominated for a Pulitzer Prize. She did not win, but she was shortlisted, and she went back to the Huffington Post and said, can you pay me now? Like, do you want to pay me to do a column, or do you want to pay for my work? And they said, no, we don't pay anybody. You work for free. And so she said, I'm quitting. I'm done. I'm going to leave the Huffington Post. And so she announced that she was quitting the Huffington Post. And Arianna Huffington's response was, you can't quit a job you never had.
Oh, my God.
What?
Jesus Christ. What a friggin'...
So, first of all, this is why I will never read anything on the Huffington Post ever again in my life. And I encourage anybody listening to this, fuck the Huffington Post. Worst, shittiest bunch of human beings. And I feel so much for the writers who write for Huffington Post. I really do. Please stop. Like, stop. Seriously. You know, you can do better. You can do a lot better for yourself. Start your own fucking blog and do better for yourself. Because you don't, like... It's pathetic. It's pathetic what happens over there. And so it was all these thoughts were sort of coalescing with me, and that's why I had to go. I'm like, I have to go because of all these reasons, right? Because I feel for all this. And if I really feel like we need to take a stand about work being valuable, I need to value myself, and I need to value what I'm doing. Plain and simple. Yeah. And oddly enough, I wasn't the only one who got a little bit inspired to start talking about pay issues and things that were going on. And, you know what, it just kind of took off. And oddly enough, I wasn't the guy to bring it up, but I'm wearing a lot of it now because I kind of, you know, I mean, I said, hey, yeah, I confirm that some of what these people are saying rings true to me.
Nobody wants to pay anybody to work anymore, guys.
It's absolutely true. And
it's true, man. I work in a place. I had somebody training for like 2 weeks, and they don't pay people to train anymore.
Jesus, see?
The person was working for 2 weeks straight, and they were like, "Yeah, I can't wait till this training's done because I can't wait to start getting paid."
That's
and
crazy.
I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" And then the guy's saying that most places are operating like that. So they can get somebody to come in and work for 2 weeks for free before they even start paying them.
It's this whole contract mentality, too. I'm contracting at a job right now, trying to get a full-time job anymore. Forget it. Everybody just wants contractors so they can hire, quote-unquote, and fire people whenever they want, not have to pay them any kind of insurance stuff, make the contract house take care of that stuff, and just, you know, pass on all the expenses to the, you know, employees, and just have that kind of luxury to staff up and staff down, not really considering that staff is actually people, you know,
human beings.
Yeah,
Americans.
It's like Soylent Green. They are people.
Soylent Green.
I gotta say, Dave, you know, I really applaud the courage of your convictions, that you have them and that you're sticking by them, that you acted on them. You know, kudos to you, man. You are definitely a hero in my book.
And for a Canadian, that's pretty impressive.
It's not, Mike, man. That means a lot. Like, sincerely, and like, I gotta tell you, it was hard as fuck.
I bet.
And some people are really mad at me, like really fucking mad at me, and you know, and people that I don't want to hurt are gonna have dirt on them because of this. And that's what pisses me off. Is fucking like assholes like Tom DeFeo will not wear this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a whole, and I call them an underclass because they are. There's an underclass of web writers who are working very hard and getting nothing for it. In terms of, at least in terms of financial compensation, they're getting compensated in other ways, maybe adequately, maybe not. And I just want to, ultimately what I want to do is just have that conversation. Do we accept that? Is that okay with us? Can we do better? How can we do better? What can readers do to help the situation? Are there actions that they can take? Can they share articles? Can they read more? Check the outlets' websites more often. Support these writers. Put them out there more. Promote them more. Can these outlets be doing more to promote what they're doing on the web? And let's build a strategy. Let's come up with some creative ways to pay people. I pushed a share of the ad revenue at Fangoria for 2 years. I really pushed for that to happen, and I never got any movement on that, period. I never even got a response to my emails about that. And I've been banging that drum a long time. So it's I think if we can have that conversation, because a lot of readers, I'm telling you, readers did not expect to hear this. When they started hearing that, wait a minute, you guys don't get paid to do this stuff, or you get paid to do some stuff but not get paid to do others, and it's kind of confusing, and wait a minute, what's really going on here? I don't think readers were prepared for that. And I don't think that's what their expectation is. I think when you read an outlet like Fangoria,
not from Fangoria or from the Huffington Post for that matter,
or from Rue Morgue or any of these places, you expect that the people writing there are getting paid, and they're getting paid at least moderately well, And what we're finding is that isn't always the case, and there is kind of an underclass. So really, for me, my motivation is to start the discussion about how do we solve that? How do we solve that problem? What do we do for this underclass of writers? Do we care to do anything about this underclass of writers? Are we fine with this? Just explore these issues. And that's always been my goal with this. I'm not out to capitalize on Lianne McDougall, Spiderbaby, whatever she's calling herself now. I'm not out to capitalize on her, and I'm not out to, I was called an opportunist by Chris Alexander for doing this, and it strikes me as odd that he's willing to call me a journalist when I'm reviewing films. But when I'm actually asking questions about the pay practices of media outlets, I'm doing opportunism. And
yeah, you're a troublemaker, Pace.
And I object to that. I object to that categorization of what I'm doing. It was hurtful when it was initially said, and it gave me a lot of pause. It made me really stop and consider: am I being an opportunist? And let's face it, every journalist kind of is, right? You see something, you kind of see crystals forming around something, and that's going to solidify. You want to get in there. You want to get in there and help shape what that's eventually going to look like. You know what I mean? And help provide some context to whatever dialogue people are going to have. And that's all I'm out to do. I'm not out for heads. I'm not out to make this all about Fangoria and what they're doing. I think everybody needs to get looked at. I think everybody needs to be more transparent, and everybody needs to be aware of what's happening. And then that's all I'm asking for.
Well said, David. We definitely will explore all of that over the next couple months on the show, and just talking in general. I think that there definitely should be some discussion.
Tom's trying to say he's going to start paying you for the reviews you do on the cutting room from now on, Dave.
Now, it's funny because I was going to say, Dave, you pretty much you're just with us now.
Yeah, man.
That's it, Joe. We got them all to ourselves.
Well, what are the plans, Dave? What's going on?
It's crazy. As much as much kind of hate mail as I've gotten, and I'm sure Mike can can sympathize. I've gotten some like really incredible words of encouragement from like very, very unlikely sources that have really because like okay, I'm gonna embarrass myself a bit here, but like I believe in this shit. You know what I mean? Like I'm not fucking around. Like when I talk about wanting to conduct things with integrity and believing that even talking about stupid movies, we can elevate that to journalism. We can take the air quotes off of journalism, when we talk about it. I believe that. I'm serious about it, and I think it's possible. And so this has been like really emotional. It's like really like there are times where I'm feeling so low about it, and I just want to like disappear. And then I'll get a message from somebody, and it's just like, dude, you were a writer, and now you found yourself, and you're a journalist. And that's a message I got from somebody today.
I
won't say who.
I sent him that, everybody. Yeah, Dave, thank you. I didn't think you were going to bring that up on air, but
I won't. I'm not going to say who. Just I mean, it's but it was somebody that I have some respect for, and that I just didn't expect it, and it was very cool. So
I've been sending the hate mail.
Yeah. Okay. I figured, whatever.
What is the hate mail? Is it because they don't like that you're speaking against this woman? Is that what's going on? They don't like that, or is it because you're having issues with Fangoria?
So there's people who are mad that I'm saying anything about Lianne. There's people who are mad that there's some people who are really mad about me arguing with Tim Lucas for some reason. Like really, like people are really bitter and bitchy about that.
I could see them getting mad if you were arguing with George Lucas, but.
Yeah, well, apparently I argued with the Pope or something because, like, some people were really, really not cool with that. And we're just like, well, you're throwing your career away and all this other crap. And I was like, what? I don't know.
I think you overestimate the power of Video Watchdog.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't care. Like, it's like, look, I want to be on the right side of history, not the right side of Tim Lucas. Like... it just doesn't make sense to me, so I didn't give that a lot of credence. But some of it's pretty crazy, like some of it's pretty. And then there's the stuff from people I know at Fangoria who are maybe don't understand what I'm doing, and think that I'm bitter and angry with the publication, or I'm just out to again be an opportunist and sort of make my bones by stomping the people that gave me a shot in the first place. And those are hard to take. Like those are hard to read. The only response I have to them is just to say that I think they're hardworking, good people, and they do amazing things with very, very little resources. And I have a lot of respect for them, and they deserve better. They deserve better than what they're getting and what they're forced to do for other people, and that's just it. And I'm just trying to get better.
Fair enough. On that note, gentlemen, we're going to start wrapping things up. Let's say goodbye to our guest tonight, Mike White. Mike, thanks a lot for joining us tonight. I mean, it's been a very great discussion, and it was great to have you on. And I hope you do come back sometime real soon and talk some films with us in a more relaxed and more fun atmosphere, without a doubt. Do me a favor, tell everyone where they could find you on Twitter, and plug your blog for us and your book.
Sure, yeah. You can find me over on Twitter at Impossible Funky, though I do tend to tweet more over at the projection booth, which is Pro Booth Cast. And yeah, my blog is impossiblefunky.blogspot.com. And the book is Cinema Detours, relatively freshly out and on sale this week for 20% off over at lulu.com, or you can pick it up on Amazon, whatever floats your boat. But yeah, let's definitely get together again, guys, and maybe we can talk about some Psycho 3 or something, you know.
And Mike, before you
yeah,
go,
that would be awesome. We'll just do.
I was just going to say, Mike, before you go, two things. Number one, let's make sure we talk real soon because we got other things to discuss.
And that's as good as a wink to a blind man.
Right. And second of all,
which is probably as good as Ra's al Ghul and Bane getting together.
Yes.
There you go. And did you get what I meant when I told you found Psycho Pike for my wife?
Was that an old Super Happy Fun thing, or
no? So my wife knew these guys who made a movie called Psycho Pike, and it was this like lost Canadian film,
right?
And she made a Facebook group just like trying to find it.
Oh,
and you
okay,
found
good.
it, dude. You found it, and it blew me away. It blew me away then, and I was like, oh my god, this is that dude. It's unbelievable.
Well, I'm glad I could share it. Yeah, it was one of those like, man, I do so much stuff out of spite, man. It was like a guy over in Italy who is this real a-hole tape trader guy who had all this sweet shit and just wouldn't send it out to anybody, even if you like broke your ass and went out and found all this crazy stuff he was looking for. He was just like, and he was like, as soon as you sent it to him, he'd be like, well, I know you wanted this really rare thing, but I'm not ready to give it up yet, and da-da-da-da-da. And so after a while, I started going out and just finding stuff that was on his want list and then not sending it to him and then giving it away to as many people as I possibly could to just fuck him. And I said, so Psycho Pike was one of those, you know.
Fucking awesome. That's amazing, dude. That was amazing.
Spite motivates way too much in my life, you know.
Well, that's good. That's probably another reason we should talk later.
Indeed. Thanks, guys. It's been a real pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much. It was
Thanks, Mike.
Really great meeting you and great talking to you. And we'll be in touch. We'll have you back on sometime real soon, brother. All right, Joe, Dave, thanks a lot. Great show. I guess we'll be talking again soon, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I love that we go from talking about breast implants and gigantic boobs to
the integrity of journalism.
Integrity of journalism.
Well,
it's outrageous.
You know, I'm gonna be an ass here because there is one more thing I have to say.
Oh, Dave, let me tell you something. I love listening to you talk. Well, I could do this. I could do this for hours.
Come on, Tom. Come on.
Speak, Pace. Speak.
I just say that Fangoria is a great publication. It was great to be there. But ultimately in the genre world, Fangoria is the establishment. And I've never really fit in at the establishment. So I think it just makes sense no matter what that I'm doing something else now.
Yeah, man. You're on your own now, Dave. You're out there.
Yeah, man.
You'll pop up somewhere good soon, I'm sure, man.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, if I will or I won't, or to be honest, what's really, really just fucking important to me right now is I want to sort of pursue this issue of value and how we treat writers, and that's all I really want to accomplish. Like, if I can just get that done and do something that really contributes to leading that discussion, I'm a happy guy. Like, I can go do something else. You know,
Well, dude, you stood by your convictions, man. So you've already done more than most people can do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You've already accomplished it. You know what so it's kudos to you, man. Just increases my admiration and respect for you, bro.
For sure.
Yeah. I honestly, Dave, I had no admiration or respect for you until just the other day. So you finally convinced me.
I got Detloff sold.
But listen, I mean, don't.
So I'm gonna Spiderbaby you soon. So.
Don't underestimate the fact that you are on the Cutting Room Movie Podcast. We have an awesome website. We have some of the best written reviews of films
Tom,
Tom, yeah.
This just in. Billy's been plagiarizing every single review he's ever read.
I knew it. I was going to say, we have some of the best written reviews out there on our website. They're all done by Joe Christiana.
Well, none of you guys send me your friggin' reviews. I gotta friggin' beg you guys. None of you guys have sent anything, man. I would love to have them up there. So please,
I'll send you some stuff, Joe.
Yeah, especially you, Dave. I mean,
now that it's lonely here,
yeah, you have some stuff. You have some extra time. Oh man, Joe, we're gonna be back in September. I feel it. For the first time, like this past week, I kind of feel it creeping up on us.
Yeah, we're getting through July here, so I think we're getting close here.
We are getting close. We got to come up with a return date in September, and we got to start moving things forward in another, I guess, about 4 or 5 weeks. Joe, we got to start talking seriously about the return.
Yeah, man. Every once in a while, after I watch a film, I'm like, "Oh, this would be a good show," and then I'm like, "All right, wait, stop, put that out of my hand."
I don't want to get ahead of myself.
Yeah,
I don't want to. So crazy. I was watching Parenthood the other day. Just during the afternoon, I just had it on. It was on cable, and I'm watching Steve Martin, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, what the fuck happened to Steve Martin? And I'm like playing this whole thing out of my head about doing a show on Steve Martin.
That would be a good one, man. I just saw Killing Me Softly, and that's written by George V. Higgins, who also wrote The Friends of Eddie Coyle. And those are like, listen, I don't know.
I like that film a lot, by the way.
Which one?
Killing Me Softly.
Yeah, you should check out Friends of. Yeah, that's why I would love to do the Friends of Eddie Coyle. Just friggin' the writing. His writing is just friggin' amazing.
Oh, and then I was watching Sideways just last night, and I'm like, dude, this is another guy to talk about. Is Alexander Payne? I mean, he's making some great films. I mean, I love Sideways. I'm a huge fan of Election. So I'm almost ready. A few more weeks, Joe. I think the pep is going to come back for some serious cutting room movie podcast stuff.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, bro. Definitely. All right, guys, I'm just going to wrap it up, man. It was great talking to the both of you. The Cutting Room Movie Podcast is produced by Joseph Christiana and Thomas Detloff. You could like us on Facebook at the Cutting Room fan page. You could also follow me on Twitter, Thomas Detloff, at Cutting Room Show. That's it, boys. We are over, and we are out. Ciao.